You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So get started today and visit FanDuel.com. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, we'll check in on some significant news in the Big 12 Conference, and one in particular that will impact Texas Tech in 2025. We'll also celebrate, depending upon when you're listening to this, the opening up of the revenue sharing era in college sports. July 1st is the date that era begins in earnest, Chris. And man, we have paid so much attention to this and spent so much time talking about this. And whenever it actually comes into place, obviously, we'll then learn how it's going to go. There will be some intended and I'm sure unintended consequences for all of these things. But I want to talk a little bit with you today just about the significance of this day and sort of the line that's being drawn in the sand, because I don't know about you, but I truly view this, I suppose, as one of the biggest dividers in the history of college sports. I really feel like while there's always been a gap, maybe that gap truly grows as we begin this era, because some will be able to meet this standard, some will not. Some are choosing to divvy things up in various ways across the nation. And I got to believe that recruiting and your ability to lure top shelf athletes to your campus is going to be impacted by all of the above, for better or worse. Am I overblowing it a little bit, or do you think truly this could be one of the biggest line in the sand days in the history of college sports?
Between the power leagues and the non-power leagues, no, I think you're dead on. I think that I wish we had some sort of chart that kind of like indicated, because I guess unless we read differently, I don't think really there's any or many group of five schools going this route. Certainly not at the level of the power four leagues with the rev share. And I can't remember the way it was phrased. It's almost like you have to declare, I think that date is come and gone on whether you're opting into the house settlement or you're not. And I don't know what that means. If you don't opt in, I'm trying to remember, okay, now are you not allowed to roll at all? Are you not, or you can, I don't know what the dynamic there was. There's some gray area there. And that's what was always fascinating about all this stuff is because you said it a bit ago. We talked about this a lot, and now it's here. But okay, what now? And I don't know if we have a good feel for what now. I mean, some things I think that you're right. It is the biggest divide between the power leagues and the non-power leagues ever before. I think that, like recruiting wise, a Power 4 offer versus a Boise State offer or a Pac-12 offer or a whatever, I think that those are now significantly different. I also think that maybe you see less movement in the portal from like with players leaving Power 4 for another Power 4. You could still see some, just not as many, but maybe you even see a bit more movement from the group of five to the Power 4.
Yeah.
If you follow me, because of all the things that we're talking about. I don't know how much transparency we will get. I mean, I think it should be this way. I don't know if this is what we'll get or not. I mean, are we going to know what everybody's roster is being paid and who's getting what? I mean, these are the schools are paying them now. So, these public universities, it's like, it's no different than a contract with a coach or an administrator or whatever. All that is public. So now that the schools are paying these players, I mean, don't you think you would become aware of what everybody was getting, and then that, and and it's not just you. It's you. I mean, you want to see what everybody's got going, except for the private institutions.
Now, I was going to say, I'd like to see what they got going on there too. Let's go ahead and bring them into the fold.
That's very fair. Transparency, right?
Exactly.
And with that, who's under a multi-year agreement? They're talking about buyout language with these multi-year players or whatever. Like, hey man, you can get him if you want, but you got to buy him out, and that's going to count against your cap and all that stuff. And the NFL, it's all out there. It's all, everybody can see what's going on. Everybody knows everybody's cap number and all the things. So what does college look like? And it's a bit uncomfortable, I think, for some, but this is what everybody's signed up for. And this is what's happening. And the schools wanted this under their own umbrella. And so now, I mean, I would think you get full transparency.
This means that I can actually say that a prediction of mine has come true, because when we were headed into the NIL era a few years back, I essentially projected a year in which we would say hello to the new sheriff. It's the old sheriff. We're back to either universities and or the NCAA umbrella determining, what's going to be distributed, I guess. So is it better? Is it worse? I don't even know if I really know that yet. I think there was room for improvement. I think there was room for a happy medium whenever it comes to this modern era of professional college sports, as compared to, like I've said before, when people were riding trains to games. So, progressing with the times, I think, was warranted. But like I said, those pesky unintended consequences yet to be learned. But I do kind of wonder, before we get to the Texas Tech angle on it, Chris, I'm wondering for you, just as a college sports fan, how you're coping with this, because some are having great difficulty coping with this new era, and any, I guess, monetary incentive whatsoever being a part of this. I don't truly grasp why there's such a big difference in the feelings regarding straight cash homie or an educational scholarship, which does have a value attached to it that you could translate into straight cash. I, as somebody who was born in the 80s and am not sentimental about an antiquated putting on for good old varsity U like time in college sports, I have no trouble embracing this new era, and actually think it helps the program that we cover here and root to be successful, and many like it across the nation. But I'm wondering, Chris Level, the college sports or college football fan, where are you at whenever it comes to the various ways that some are sort of processing or digesting this new era?
Yeah, I think people don't like change. We all like the things that we like. We want them to stay the same for forever. And I certainly am right there with a lot of it. I think we've been talking about this for so long, and it's been on the horizon. And that light at the end of the tunnel has always been there, and now it's just brighter than ever now that it's here. I guess I've just, and I think this is just the way it was going to go. So it's like adapt and thrive, kind of mentality. If you could, again, if you're uncomfortable with this or don't like it, Texas Tech could be New Mexico, and you could be just like off to the side, never hardly on TV. Your best players are going to leave every year because you can't afford to keep them. And you're just and then the city of Lubbock just suffers greatly and whatever, right? So there's all kinds of ramifications here of not being at this level. So I just think this was necessary, and this is just part of what comes with playing big boy ball in 2025. You didn't really have a choice, and it was survival. Like if you go back to the realignment conversations and your league maintaining a certain status or losing members, and okay, who are you going to add? I mean, this was, all of those were frustrating / exciting days depending on what the news was, but it was all about being able to be invited to this party. Yeah, because you're still included. You're still seated at the table. You're still able to do what your big boy brethren are doing. So from that state, but I certainly understand that there's some uncomfortableness maybe by the folks that have. This is just the way it's been all these years. I mean, I think you could probably judge this in the age of people and how they kind of view this.
Yeah.
Because it's a massive change, but this is just different. And, I mean, back in the 80s, they didn't have a 3-point line, and then now they do. And it's just part of, and I don't think the changes are done. I mean, I think that we're just kind of in the midst of it. It's just going to continue to evolve and change and be tweaked and all those things, because the rev share number will go up, not backwards. And keep in mind, this is about a 10-year Band-Aid here. This settlement is a 10-year agreement, and what do things look like when we get 10 years from now? I don't know. I don't even know what it looks like 1 year from now. So
yeah, 10 minutes from now, it's kind of hard to peg what it actually look like. From Tech's perspective, Chris, it certainly seems like there are some programs, football, men's basketball, that you feel like, wow, are they in the best shape they've ever been in? And is this soon to enter into the best era we've ever had with these programs? But on the other end of it, we've talked about it recently as well. You feel like some programs are going to enter, I don't know, maybe some of the leanest times I guess they've ever been in, or maybe I should just say the most challenging times they've been in. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer, FanDuel's the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet hits. Again, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. You think about a track and field program. I think about a baseball program and scholarship allotments when comparing and contrasting to, say, some programs in the SEC. And they're probably not the only ones on the list, but just two prominent examples. So kind of hard to reconcile back in the 806. I guess it depends on really where your sports interest lies, and you may have no interest in one program versus the other. I know there are many out there that want everything to be successful, so we probably mostly identify with those folks, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be all that easy to achieve. So there's a bit of a squeeze here in some ways, and that's been a little bit difficult, I guess, to reconcile as a Tech fan.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, like for baseball, I mean, Coastal Carolina just went to the College World Series with 11.7 scholarships. Not much NIL to speak of. I know Arizona State, which is an example we talked about in a recent episode, they are now fully funding their scholarships on their campus, and this is their way of like not rev sharing with a lot of the other sports, but they're saying, hey, you get, you get 34 scholarships for your baseball team instead of us keeping it at 11.7 and giving you $300,000 or $400,000, so again, it's about adapt and thrive. You've got to figure out, I mean, I'm sure every sport is different. Everybody's scenario is different with your sport, with your current roster, what you're having to do, what you've done up to this point. Cause I'm sure that there was some Matador Club help to some of these folks that allowed them to try to steady the the ship a bit as you kind of entered into this, and you just have to figure out what works best for you. But you're right; it's not. I think it's going to be a bit tricky for some of the non-revenue sports on these campuses, and everybody's got their own kind of set of circumstances, but you're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to develop. You're going to have to use what rev share money you have wisely, and all the things. But I just there's a way to get it done because people have been doing it. I mean, there was all kinds of NIL opportunity. I just think the Coastal Carolina example is a great one. I mean, they rolled to the damn championship series in college baseball, and they were doing the same thing with the same scholarships that you and everybody else had. So with I would guess a little to no NIL help at all. So anyway, it will have an effect on some of these programs. There is just no doubt, and you could still make the case that once you get into this and you're away from the Matador Club days of being able to front load and all these things, that your basketball program will be a bit have an arm tied behind their back a bit, like where they can give out $4 million, whereas others can give out 5. I mean, it's just, again, so it's all about context and in each sport and each particular situation and all those things, and it's about using your money wisely and making really good decisions and then developing like crazy.
What a time to be alive, to bear witness to an era unlike any other ever before in college sports. And should we have been careful what we were wishing for? Maybe, but we forgot at that time, and that time is already gone. So maybe a little too late right now, but can't wait to find out what is in store for everyone, for better or worse, all across the country. And in those ways that Texas Tech has been organized and ready for this era, I'm very thankful for, because as we've already pointed out, and you could use many examples, there are going to be plenty of others out there trying to figure it out as they go. I don't feel like Tech is necessarily in that case, at least to some severe extent. So,
well, they are in this sense. Okay, what are our advantages, if any, in this new era? Everybody's trying to figure that out now.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I think it was one of the mailbags that we did, like these schools that have said we're going to fully fund all these scholarships, so we're going to have a lot less rev share to give out, including to our football team and all these things. I just don't. I don't buy that they're going to now take a big hit and not have as much money to give their football team. I mean, so what's the workaround? Where's the gray area? Does the bagman return? What is real NIL versus what's not? What is Deloitte going to approve or not approve, and all those things. So,
there's the NIL Go component we haven't brought up, and I'm fine with that.
Right? Yeah. I don't know if we have a good grasp of that, of kind of the new norm. What does the portal window actually look like? Like, what can you realistically expect to go get out on the open market? There's all the things. So,
we plunge ahead regardless.
We do, and I think that there's a level of trying to figure it out as we go here, from the new norm, I guess.
For sure, man. You mentioned adapt and survive a minute ago, and before we get out of here, we got to talk about some news that's really interesting as they're trying to adapt out of Provo, Utah, following some significant shifting in their roster. Their quarterback is headed for the portal following a BYU honor code of conduct violation. This is really interesting for the league, Chris, really interesting, obviously, for BYU, but from a Tech perspective, this one of the bigger games on their schedule and one of the bigger ones to be played at Jones Stadium. But the cast of characters apparently going to be a little bit different than we expected. What do you think about this?
Yeah, we were wondering how this was going to play out. It's an unfortunate situation. There's different allegations, but there's also the honor code at BYU and all the like. But from a football standpoint, this is a quarterback that QB'd his team to. They were calling him the BY Jew last year. I mean, all the different nicknames because they just kept winning. They started out 9-0. And he wasn't crazy with statistics, but there was a lot of clutch component there that they just figured kept figuring it out. And then all the doubts came and they just kept figuring it out. But they now get knocked down from the top tier or contender status to just like, I think, middle of the pack, right, wrong, or indifferent. But they now have a situation where they're going to be looking at McKay Hillstead, Trayson Bourget, I think is how you say it, and then Bear Bachmeyer as their starter. And maybe it'll be a combination of that group. I don't know. I think that they kind of felt like, okay, a few months ago when this first was alleged or whatever, that so they've been a bit ahead of it and assuming that this news, but there's no winners in this deal, right? I mean, I don't think the player wins, the school doesn't win. Hopefully nothing illegal happened. And I think the Provo Police Department that didn't come forth, all that stuff. Okay, but there's just not any winners here. But from a football standpoint, this will be a main storyline at Big 12 Media Days next week on, okay, Coach Sataki, I mean, what now? Like, how's this going to look? Like, what and you're right. You mentioned the home game. I would have said to you, and I probably still feel that way, although we don't know what we don't know. And so we don't know what Kansas will be like or Oklahoma State will be like. We kind of think we do, but I think BYU was going to be thought to be a fringe top 25, top 30 team based on all that they had coming back and all that. And that's the ninth game of BYU's schedule. And so I think that the report was he was going to be suspended for 7 games. So should he stay at BYU, he would be eligible to play in Lubbock. Should he stay? I think he's been telling players and coaches that he is going to depart. And you've even heard Notre Dame and you've heard some different places. But I from a football standpoint, though, yeah, they take a major hit. I mean, it is that is noticeable. And again, some would tell you, no loss. But if you quarterback your team to 11 wins, you can look at statistics all you want. But the one I'm looking at is 11 wins. So I don't care how bad this or that was. I mean, 11 wins, and it wasn't all on him, but I mean, they figured it out. But I think that is very newsworthy in this league that he will more than likely not be in Provo anymore.
Not what you want to be talking about any time of year, obviously, but particularly as you open up the month of July with fall camps just around the corner for everybody. So it'll be interesting to see how that story progresses out of Provo. Chris, appreciate your time as always, my man. Enjoyed it. And we got plenty more to go this week as we're rolling right on up to the 4th of July holiday. We'll be talking some explosivity among other things this week. So looking forward to the next round, and we'll see you then.
Yes, we love the bombs away talk, right? Especially when we're sending them and not on the receiving end. Yeah, that's right. You got it. All right, man. I appreciate it. Keep hope alive, everybody out there. And again, we are now in the month of July, so the month of June, which sucks, is now behind us. It's in the rear view, so we're that much closer to football and some of the things that we love so much. So enjoy the rest of the week, people.
All right. Appreciate you guys for being out there, and get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers and the Matador Mob for always riding along. And you can hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text and straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.